Alright guys, welcome to another video from XF Motorsports. This one is going to be about corner balancing. We have a Porsche 911 in the shop that we need to set up for track use. It is already on coilovers. So yeah, I guess for this video let's get started by adjusting the car's ride height, then set up one of these corner balancing scales and show you guys how to set up one of these things. And so starting off by showing you guys the car that we're working on today. It's a Porsche 911 996. It's a 1999 and sees quite a bit of track use. It is already on Öhlins for the suspension. The problem with the suspension right now, it's scraping the front a little bit, so you can see those scrape marks over there. So the bump stops at the front need to be raised a little so that it doesn't scrape. At the rear it's not scraping, but yeah, we need to change the ride height a little just to set things up properly. And at the back too, it has these Öhlins, all adjustable control arms, roll center adjustment over there. So yeah, pretty good setup overall. We just need to set it up properly now, and let's get into first setting the ride height, then the corner balancing, and then we need to put it on the alignment machine next and also do an alignment on it. So before putting the car on the wing scales, there's one really important thing to check to make sure that the surface of the wing scales is perfectly level, because if it's not level, then yeah, everything after this point will basically be useless and it would give you the wrong result. But once the wing scales were perfectly level, it was time to put the car on the wing scales, and since now the car was sitting on a perfectly level surface, it was a good time to make all the ride height adjustments. So after checking the ride height, we established that we need to raise the front up by 10 mils, and the rear also we're going to be raising it by 10 mils because the rake is set pretty much proper right now, so we don't want to change that too much. But getting into how to actually change the ride height, so there's two different ways you can do it, and there's a lot of debate on which one is the right one, but I'll tell you the difference between the two. One thing is you can move the spring preload up, and that's going to raise your ride height. The second thing is you can move this bottom adjustment downwards, and that's also going to change your ride height. But the difference between the two is if you extend your ride height from there, you're increasing the length of the overall strut. So what that does is your bump stop also moves down to a lower point, so that your car is going to run into the bump stop sooner than it's going to start hitting the floor. If you change only the preload, it's not going to change the bump stops. The bump stops are going to stay exactly there. So in this case, where the car is hitting the floor, we would definitely be changing this setting so that the bump stops actually give the car an extra 10 mil before. So basically, yeah, the bump stops do more work rather than the car scraping on the floor, which is stopping the car right now. So after that, it was time to make a few ride height changes, first at the front and then also at the rear, and yeah, then lower the car back on the wing scales and make sure that it was perfectly level, and also level side to side with the driver in the car to make sure that when the car is on the track it is actually sitting level. It's also important to measure the total shock length both on the left side and on the right side, just because so that you know that both the right side and the left side are going to be hitting the bump stops at the same time, rather than one bump stop hitting sooner than the other, which would also cause undesirable handling results. Another thing you might as well do at this point is remove the sway bar links both at the front and at the rear, because if the sway bar links, if they're not adjusted properly and if they're adding some stress on the anti-roll bar when your car is sitting flat, that could also ruin your corner balancing results. So now we've done our ride height adjustments and the car is sitting exactly where the ride height should be, and it's also equal on both sides, so the car is not sitting lower on either sides. And now we need to look at the weight numbers and adjust the corner balance. Now this one is right now without the driver, but of course we are adjusting everything with the weight of the driver in the car. So right now this corner, the front left and rear right, is actually looking a little bit lighter, like 1.5% lighter than the other corner. So basically what you do is you take this number and you take that number on the rear right and you add them, and that should give you 50%. If it's not giving you 50%, that means that that corner is lighter than the other corner, because both corners should be 50% if they're sharing equal weight. And also to tell you the downsides and what happens if your corners are not balanced. Basically what will happen is if you're going into a turn, your car might understeer in, let's say, a left-hander, and might oversteer in a right-hander. If your corners aren't balanced, depending on which way they're not balanced. But yeah, once you balance them, then it should be handling the same way in both left-handers and right-handers. So now to adjust this, what we're going to do is that we'll have to lift the car once more. take the tires off, and we'll add a bit of weight on this rear right tire and that rear front left tire, and then hopefully we will be really close to the right corner balance. So now for finally adjusting corner balance, you should be using the preload setting on the coilovers to adjust this. The reason is because now if you're changing the lower setting, at this point your bump stops, the length of the shock and everything should be evenly set on all corners, so that when your car actually bottoms out, all the bump stops should be hitting at the same time. So that's why you don't want to mess with the bump stop setting anymore. You should only be changing preload at this point to change the corner balance. So after making some changes to the corner balancing, these are the final numbers. Well, these are the final numbers without the driver, but with the driver now we're getting perfect, like I think it was 50.3 on like measuring these two numbers, and it was 49.8 measuring these two numbers. So that's really accurate. That's as close as it's gonna get. So yeah, that's all pretty good. Now we just gotta lift the car up once more, take off all four wheels, tighten everything for the final time, and then it's gonna be on to the alignment. So after that, it was on to the alignment. I already made a previous video covering alignment and how to set up all these different angles when I did it on my car. But basically, yeah, racing alignment is a lot more involved than your regular Canadian Tire alignment, where they basically just adjust toe angles and call it a day. For a racing alignment, you do need to adjust camber, casters, and make sure that all these angles are set up properly so that the car handles properly on the track. And of course, it is a little difficult to do on cars like these that have multi-link suspensions with all adjustable links and everything. And the crappy part about this car was that I had to actually do the alignment twice to get it right. But of course, after that, the good part was that it was time to put the car back down and take it out for a bit of a test drive.
Huh?
You want to come along?
Oh, you want me to come along?
Yeah, come along.
It's extra weight. That's fine.
Feels pretty normal to drive. It's not ridiculously stiff.
No. Lifted a wheel there.
Really? That's all it takes?
Yeah. The faster you go, the smoother they are.
Well, not too bad. So how much horsepower is this one? 300?
300. 295. Sorry.
Yeah, I kind of feel like it. It's good. Good power for like a light car like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can tell all the power is in like the top end.
Yeah.
That's what it like really.
Over 4, right?
Yeah.
Like 3.5, 4.
Yeah. Yeah, the only problem is I have no idea if whatever changes we made any difference, because I didn't know what the car felt like before.
Yeah.
It does spin like kind of a little bit.
Yeah.
It actually doesn't feel too German though. Like the newer Porsche, they're like a little too refined. They start feeling a little German. This one, it's like kind of feels more Japanese, no?
Well, it's like I put stiffer engine mounts in it and all these things, right?
True.
It's I think that changed a lot of it. I drove a 997 GT3
Yeah.
back to back with this, and the GT3 felt like a couch. The steering was all sloppy and loose, and the shifter was loose, the suspension was soft. This feels like it's taut and ready to go.
So that was it for the Porsche 911, but there's another Porsche in the shop that I thought I might show you guys. It's this car, which doesn't look like there's something too extreme going on until you look at the back. And there's an entire LS engine squeezed in this little tiny engine bay. Just look at how small the engine bay is, and like there's an entire LS engine in here. So that's pretty cool. This one actually came in for a little bit of work. We had to make these CNC cut rear wing mounts, so the rear wing could be mounted on, because this definitely needs a rear wing. It has way too much power for this little car. I just drove it a little bit, and it's scary to drive. It's not like that car. That car also has a lot of power in a really lightweight car, but this one is more like an explosion rather than a controlled thing that goes in a straight line. It just wants to go all over the place. It's yeah, but a pretty cool car nonetheless. Also an Infiniti over here that unfortunately I'm pretty sure it needs a new engine, because the engine is seized on it. I can't even turn the engine, so So yeah, pretty big change of scenery in the shop. This is probably the first time I think since I've opened the shop that there's not a single Mercedes in here. There's all different cars, Porsche, Infiniti, another Nissan. Well, this car might be the only Mercedes left in the shop, if you consider it a Mercedes at this point. But this car too, there's going to be a few updates coming on it pretty soon, because it is on the lift for a reason, because when I do find time, I do want to put a dry sump in this car. And actually, yeah, showing you guys some progress on that dry sump. There's well, this is the pump that I opened up, and here's the gears. So I was making these blow-up type gears for this pump, because E55s, you might have known that when they turn on, they make that really weird whining noise from the scavenging side of the pump, because it has these straight cut gears that are actually scavenging oil from the front section. And someone actually told me to design gears that wouldn't make that noise, so that's why this was my design. But the part I'm stuck at right now is that these gears are supposed to be a press fit, and they're supposed to go on, and these first set of gears that I machined turned out to be an extremely difficult fit. I couldn't even press them on properly, so now I'm gonna mill new gears with the same design, but like slightly bigger bore in the center, so that they can go on properly. And I'll probably do a separate video on this one. I will be testing these gears out, putting this pump together with these gears, and actually making a test thing for it so that I can spin the pump up to speed and see what type of noise it makes with the original gears, and then what noise it makes with these gears, and also test like how much they flow and everything. So that's going to be a pretty cool video. It's going to be coming up really soon, but also to show you guys some other really cool things going on. Well, this is one thing that you probably already have seen in the previous videos. The engine for the 300ZX that we were building is really close to done. Both turbos are on, everything is pretty much in place. Just needs the wiring harness to go back on, and then it's going back in the car. But so in the upstairs section, we have this whole carbon fiber thing that I was making so that we could make our own carbon fiber parts, vacuum bag them, and then even at the bottom there's breather cloth. There's a bunch of stuff like we're planning to have over here so that we can do proper carbon fiber work. We were working on this rear wing while Karen was actually working on it. I was too bad at carbon fiber work, so I gave up on it. I made a few molds and they turned out horrible, and even my carbon fiber skills, well, you've probably seen it on that car, they weren't the best. So but Karen actually does an amazing job at it, and everything she's been doing so far has been turning out amazing. So she's actually working on these. This is going to be a rear wing for a car, or actually we're going to be making multiple different rear wings based on the same mold. So it's basically a 2-element design. The top element is going to open and close, all made out of carbon fiber, just like F1 DRS wings. It's a pretty big one, and yeah, it's going to give like incredible downforce. I'm going to be using the same elements later on my car, replacing those fiberglass elements. And yeah, you guys are going to see a video on this hopefully pretty soon once it's done. Also, I've set up a bit of a simulator over here for to practice my driving skills, and also, well, for the customers whenever they come in and I'm working on their cars and they have nothing to do, at least they can come up here and play video games and try to beat my lap time, which, by the way, no one has been able to beat my lap time so far. So that at least is one thing that makes me proud as a driver. But yeah, oh, other than that, there's another really cool project, that the car that is not here right now but is going to be coming here really soon. It's an older SL. It's a 1981 SL 380 actually, and we are going to be taking that car, we're going to be pulling the engine out of it, and we are putting an M156 AMG engine in it from a C63. Not just the engine actually, the engine, transmission, some of the suspension components, better brakes, the seats. From basically, it's going to be a car that is going to look like an old SL from the outside, but it's going to be all new on the inside. So that's a really cool project. It's a pretty long project. It's probably going to take me like a few months to finish on that one, but that's something that I'm really looking forward to working on. So yeah, just a few more cars to clear up the shop, and then there's a lot more stuff that is going to be coming up for you guys over the winter. That's everything for now. Thanks for watching. I will see you guys in the next one.